Hey everyone, welcome to our first lesson for Module 2. In our first lesson, we will focus on some concepts related to MOOCs. We will of course begin with explaining MOOCs, and then we will have a look at online learning, e-learning, open learning, distance education, and finally distance learning. Our first concept is of course MOOCs. Now that you're here, you must already have an idea of what a MOOC is. But let's look more into the concept of MOOCs. MOOCs, massive online open courses, are online courses that anyone, anywhere can participate in, and usually for free. Now, let's see what each letter represents. M stands for massive. What do I mean by massive? It means no limits on participation and attendance, free and open registration, thus a global reach. O stands for open. It means open entry and open curriculum and open to all people, as well as freedom of time and place and freedom of pace. O stands for online, which means free of charge courses delivered through the internet across geographical boundaries. C stands for course. These courses include video lectures, reflective activities, facilitated interaction with peers and instructors, online discussion forums and social networking, automated self-testing, and finally, peer review. The curriculum of these courses is mostly fixed or predetermined with specific start and finish dates, and it is shared publicly with learners. There are two different pedagogical philosophies of MOOCs: CMOOCs and XMOOCs. Have you ever taken a CMOOC or an XMOOC? If you have, you probably have an idea about the differences. CMOOCs are built on the basis of connectivism, which defines learning as a process of generating and linking networks. This kind of MOOCs doesn't emphasize instructor-generated content. XMOOCs adopt content-based cognitive behaviors approach. Ready-made content is delivered in an instructor-led way to meet predetermined expected learning objectives. MOOCs didn't appear out of nowhere for sure. Let's take a look at the concepts that led to the development of MOOCs. The first concept we will look into is online learning. Online learning refers to the use of internet access learning materials to interact with the content, instructor, and other learners, as well as to obtain support during the learning process in order to acquire knowledge, to construct personal meaning, and to grow from the learning experience. This is the common distance education term used in higher education. Online learning is also defined as a more recent version of distance learning, which improves access to educational opportunities for learners described as both non-traditional and disenfranchised. E-learning, although several definitions of e-learning are common, a simple definition can be the use of electronic technologies to create learning experiences. The e-learning term originated in the mid-1990s when the internet began to gather momentum. The application of e-learning includes a computer-based learning as well as web-based learning. This term refers to distance education in the private sector, what some also call as e-training. What is abundantly obvious is that there is some uncertainty as to what exactly are the characteristics of the term, but what is clear is that all forms of learning, whether they are applications, programs, objects, websites, etc., can eventually provide a learning opportunity for individuals. Our next term is open learning. Open learning system is one that has no entry requirements apart from very broad ones such as age. However, open learning might not be necessarily at a distance. It makes learning more global and empowers both individual learners and instructors. Open learning focuses on the current specific needs and markets available by recognizing local requirements and differences instead of delivering an established curriculum, and by shifting from mass production and mass consumption. Before we go on to explain distance learning, let's have a look at another common term, distance education. Distance education is defined as institution-based formal education where the learning group is separated and where interactive telecommunication systems are used to connect learners, resources, and instructors. Distance education is actually an umbrella term. Unlike open learning, Distance education might provide distance learning opportunities using mass-produced courseware to a mass market. Although terms of distance education and distance learning are used interchangeably, they differ in meaning. When it is about learning and teaching and the relationship between the teacher and the learner, we use the term distance education. However, if you want to describe what happens on the learner side of interacting with a teacher at a distance, we use the term distance learning. These concepts must sound confusing. Let me help you. There are some common characteristics of these concepts. They all have two sides, learner and instructor. They all have freedom of space or place. They all have varying forms of instructional materials. Dear friends, in this lesson, we looked at the concept of MOOCs and examined related concepts. You may now proceed to the next learning activity.